the past week in Lagos, a private school has caught the attention of Nigerians owing to a viral tape involving underage pupils in a sexual escapade. Sex tape has since raised the question of the role of parents and school in the upbringing of the children. Lagos State government has warned members of the public to desist from distributing the footage and has gone a step further to shut all branches of the school in the state. Joining us now to further dissect the issue in relation to societal conduct is a life coach and 2021 Forbes Coaches Council member, Lanre Olusola. It's good to have you and welcome to Newsday. Now, as a behavioral change coach, what readily comes to mind when you heard about the Chrisland sexual saga among students?
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon. Wow. It's really been a very interesting week, watching, listening, and, hearing different commentaries on the goings on. And it's really a representation of the reality of our times. Society has changed. The way that children live their lives have changed. Values have changed. Parenting needs to change. The system that we all exist in also needs to completely change. So there are various things that we need to look at. We need to look at 21st century parenting. Secondly, we need to look at 21st century education. And then thirdly, we need to look at, the role of media, the role of social media, the role of traditional media in the influence on children today. And at the center of it, and at the epicenter of all of this is parenting. There's really a lot of absentee parents. And parents have yielded parenting to a lot of their wards. Their nannies, their house helps, their drivers, their cooks are now the ones that are parenting. And parents are, even though we get to understand that it's a difficult society that we're in, mother is working, father is working, and they're working really, really hard. We have to begin to ask ourselves, really, what matters to us? Is it really about bringing this money? Because at the end of the day, we've got to ask ourselves, the money that we strive to make, the legacy and the inheritance that we want to build, who are we going to give it to? If these children lose their minds, if these children lose their morals, if these children have no values, if these children are unable to build character, that which you have worked all your life, right, to give to them as an inheritance, they're just going to, do whatever it is that they want to do with it. They're going to mess it up, and so we need to get to a point where parents begin to reevaluate their parenting style. Parents begin to reevaluate what their priorities are. Parents need to begin to reevaluate the kind of devices and systems that we make available to these children. And parents need to change their parenting style. The time has come. Schools also need to change the way that, they run those schools and the way that they monitor these children. And we need to get back to the basics where, we're teaching culture, we're teaching values, right? And, we're also not ignorant of what is going on social media and in today's media. So everything about the system has to completely change.
Very well said. Now, I'm going to quote the State Commissioner for Education, Folashade Adefisayo, who announced the reopening order for Chrisland. She said, and I quote, the directive follows a review of the ongoing administrative investigation into the incident. Besides, it is to ensure that students are not denied access to learning when the new term begins on Monday, the 25th of April, 2022. I'd like to ask if you, from your perspective as a psychotherapist, what are some of the angles that might have been missed? And do you actually think that a thorough investigation has taken place regarding this matter?
I'm not sure whether this is, we're supposed to look at it from the perspective that we're looking at it from. Let's look at let's look at the schools, right? Let's look at a particular school involved. There were a few students that perpetrated this act, right? And let's assume that in that school, there is probably 600, 1,000 students, and then 6 students or 5 students perpetrate an act. And then you shut down the entire school, right, just to make a point and to punish, a set of students, and something that maybe the guardians or the teachers missed. So you're punishing the entire gamut of the entire students, right? For what a set of people have done. Now, where are the gaps? There are gaps in monitoring. There are gaps in parenting. There are also these children, right? We need to understand the reality of the dispensation that we're in. In as much as we try to monitor them on these digital platforms that they are on these social media platforms that they're on, these children create secret accounts. So even if you're on top of your game, if you give them access to these things, these children are still going to do what they are going to do. And so we have to begin to look at it from a completely different perspective: punitive, social change, social rehabilitation, therapy, coaching. We need to begin to change the system of education, where we incorporate therapy, we incorporate counseling, we incorporate coaching, we incorporate values into our system of education. Also, you see, role modeling is playing out in these things that we're seeing. These children have access to devices on the internet, and they have access to every single thing. How do we begin, right, to understand that when they're in school, whilst they are under our watch, whilst we're taking them away for certain activities, we control the devices that they have access to. We control the access even on those devices. So I don't think that there's anything wrong in opening the schools, right? If the government says that they've done their investigation, and I hold Mrs. Adefisayo in very high esteem. I've known her for so long. I've done work with her. She is someone that I personally, right, hold in very high esteem. If she says that they've done their investigation, if she says that, the schools need to be reopened, she has weighed every single thing. She has looked at it from all dimensions, and they've come to a right judgment. I will not fault her judgment on that, on reopening the schools.
Indeed, Larry. Now, there's more expectations on the conduct of private schools over public ones on account of investments parents place on their children there. So earlier you were talking about the issue of values. What's the narrative here, you think? Well,
at the heart of this really is the failure of parenting and society, the focus of society. So we've had a situation where a few students perpetrated an act, but look at who's been the scapegoat: the girl. Nobody's talking about the boy. Nobody's talking about the student that recorded the video, why they recorded the video. The video was recorded for certain reasons, right? That within themselves, right, they have an understanding. So the video wasn't recorded, without consent amongst themselves, right? It speaks to the moral fiber, right, of society today. It speaks to, how these children view things. They don't really see things the way that we older people see things. They see things completely differently. Now, that is what we've got to begin to address. Where are they learning these things from? What are they learning? What are their perspectives and their ideologies? What are the behaviors that is revealing how these children are approaching life? And what must we do about it? Not just from the educational perspective, right? We have to look at it from a social construct. We have to look at it from the family construct. Look, the family, right, is the epicenter of society. The failure that we are seeing in society today is the failure of the unit called family. And we've got to go back to the basics. What consists of a functional family? It is a functional father and a functional mother that is nurturing, right, functional children. Now, that family needs to have a family vision, family values, family culture, family constitution that they uphold, and they ensure that their children uphold, right? These children that we're talking about, they came from certain families now, right? Now, is it the school's sole responsibility, right, to nurture them and bring them up? Is it the school's sole responsibility, right, to teach them values? Look, those children came from a family, and the parents need to take responsibility. And it's not about casting aspersions. All of us need to sit down and reevaluate. All of us that are parents, we need to sit down and reevaluate.
Lanre, we have little time, but I'd like to ask this question because the focus has been on the schools, the bad parenting, as some people have branded it. But tell us about the road to recovery, because truth be told, one of the worst types of trauma to endure is one that's been publicized. And the mother also made a video, so it's easy to link whose child that is. Now, what's the road to recovery? Because in all honesty, I don't think all is lost when it comes to these children who are involved in this scandal.
It's therapy. That's the road to recovery. We all make mistakes. You have made mistakes in your life. I have made mistakes in my life. They have made mistakes early in their lives, right? Now, they need therapy. They need counseling. And the therapy and counseling they need is not even just for short term. It's for medium to long term, not just them. Also, other students in that same school, because you see, the truth of the matter is the children that were involved are victims. They must have learned it or picked it up from somewhere. The children that witnessed it, they are also victims. Their friends, right, that they will go back to school to meet are also witnesses to this. So we've got to deploy counseling and therapy and the entire school wide. Even the parents need therapy. How are they going to come back from this without help? And so when we talk about therapy, when we talk about counseling, when we talk about coaching, right, it's not that they've lost their minds. It's not that they've gone crazy. It's such that, you know what, mistakes have been made. People have been traumatized. Children have been exposed to what they shouldn't be exposed to at this age. We need to, get therapy and counseling for them to find out where the root cause is and to begin to address it so that they can learn, they can grow, and they can progress. I liked what you said. Not all is lost. If you can learn the lessons, if you can elicit the wisdom in it, and if you can commit, right, to, living a committed life of values and doing things right.
Indeed, therapy and counseling, a way out. Lanre Olusola, a behavioral change coach and, of course, a psychotherapist, I would like to thank you for your input on those issues. Good to have you.